The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're gonna love it.
Okay, let's go.
All right. This is another one of these fun interview episodes where it's going to be like an insightful interview, but it's almost going to be like me doing a solo episode because this guy, Brandon, you got to pronounce your last name for me because you just told me 5 seconds ago and I already forgot. But anyway, Conceicao. Okay, yeah. Brandon Conceicao. All right. You know what? This is super cool because there's a few people on Instagram, and you are one of them. And I think I told you this in our first conversation, and you were kind enough to give me the compliment back where, like, when I'm watching you, I'm like, oh my God, I agree. There's really been very little that you've kind of talked about that I haven't agreed. And more importantly, I just really appreciate the way you present material. It's like, it's militant. You're not trying to shove things down people's throat, which, I mean, I'm trying to kind of be that same way. But anyway, welcome, brother. Let's have a Joe Rogan, Dave Smith type conversation. I think we can beat those guys.
Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I think we could talk about a little bit more than what Joe Rogan's allowed to talk about. So
yeah, there you go. All right, that's a good one. All right, let's start off with Charlie Kirk. We've got to talk about this. You know, I've talked a lot. I've aired a lot of Candace Owens clips on the podcast. I've aired a lot of overall things. I've aired a lot of Charlie from the background, like going back. And really it goes back to 2023. I don't know if you saw when he was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast.
Oh, yeah. Talking about the border. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about, was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. I don't believe it took 6 hours for the IDF to respond. And then from there, dude was silent. I mean, basically did a 180 U-turn because I think they put the screws to him until, the past several months where it has come out, all this information about Jewish donors pressing him and the situation in the Hamptons and all this stuff. And anyway, then he gets assassinated. So where are you at on this?
I mean, I fall along the lines that everybody with common sense falls along the lines. This is our generation's JFK, without a doubt. If you take a look at what happened with JFK, he was probing into Israel's supposedly non-existent nuclear program.
Right.
And he was probing into the Fed and stuff like that. And they wanted to set an example. They wanted to make it clear to any politician that if you're going to go against us, if you're going to go against the AIPAC lobby, if you're going to go against Israel, we will end you. Yeah. Quite literally, the way they ended JFK, violently on camera in public for a bunch of people to see. And the message really isn't for the Americans, it's for the politicians. Yeah. If you noticed, a week after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was a record number of attendance of U.S. politicians in Israel. Over 250 U.S. lawmakers in Israel less than a week after. Is that a coincidence? No. That is called fear tactics.
That's right. Was that a bilateral thing, like Republicans
Both
and
sides.
Democrats? Oh,
Both
wow.
Sides. Bilateral, both sides, I believe. You can fact check me on that, but I believe it was both sides of the party there.
I think you're right. They took them over to Jerusalem, I believe, and there was one big picture of all of them with Netanyahu right in the middle. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
I would love to know how many people were actually on the fence about going, whether they were going to go or not, and then decided after the Charlie Kirk incidents, they were on that plane no matter what,
Yeah, very true. I'll tell you one person that didn't go, and man, she's been a wild card, like or someone I did not have on my bingo card. Let's see if you can guess. Who's
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
There you go. Dude, she's been a beast. A beast. And I would have never expected her to be this way. Now, let me throw something at you because, what's interesting, and again, I don't know if you're going, let me throw this at you. So when the Marjorie Taylor Greene started happening, when she started really, in many ways, it's kind of like Tucker Carlson was doing, where he wasn't directly or she wasn't directly speaking against Trump. You know, she's not calling out Trump. Tucker's not really calling out Trump. Matt Gaetz is not really calling out Trump. They're focusing it on, the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel, and then Netanyahu. But then obviously Trump is so far in cahoots with those guys. It almost made me think, like, I'm surprised Trump doesn't call Marjorie Taylor Greene and say, hey, you need to shut the hell up. And then that makes me think, God, are they playing 4D chess in the background? Like, Trump knows he can't do it, so he's enabling his, three of the people that really helped him get where he is today. He's enabling them. What do you think? You think it's that nefarious potentially?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head of, it's like that Spider-Man meme. Have you ever seen the Spider-Man meme? It's like everybody's pointing at everybody. Nobody
Yeah.
really knows right now who to
Yeah.
trust. And it's
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's been so much mistrust in our government. We
Yeah.
don't know who to trust. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene controlled up? Is Candace controlled up? Is Nick controlled up? All of these things, we don't know. But we have to focus on the bigger picture, and that's disclosure. What is coming out on a mass scale? People are talking about aliens. People are talking about the Epstein list. People are talking about, Charlie Kirk, all of these things, and they're speaking out against Israel. If you spoke out against Israel, if you told anybody about Israel back in, not just Israel, I mean the darker forces controlling Israel,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
talk about that back in 2019, you were nuts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely nuts. So to see politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out, to see Thomas Massey speaking out, to see Candace Owens doing this documentary, to me, it's a part of the inevitable. The internal teams in the dark forces in power right now, I call them the demons because at the top, they are 100% demonic.
Yeah.
It's biblical, it's religious, however you want to look at it. These people have been written about and they are straight up demons. And they know they're losing. They know there's a higher power that is at play right now. And so they're trying to hedge their bets.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are flipping because they know they have no choice to tell the truth. And whether Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of them, she probably was one of them at some point. And now she is starting to tell the truth because she knows what's inevitable. She knows it 100%. So in same situation, she was one of them. If you just look at her history, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, for saying that, because a lot of people are a part of the Candace cult. And you know what? I am a little bit too. I agree with what she's saying right now around Charlie Kirk. I think we should be looking into it, but that doesn't change the fact that her and Charlie were most likely a part of the cult before they started to change their tune.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Are you religious? I don't even know.
I don't follow any specific religion, but I have Jesus in my heart 24/7. Jesus is in my heart. And I think that Jesus wasn't the only time God incarnated on this planet. So I look at Krishna the same way I look at Jesus, the same way I look at Buddha. I think these are all enlightened beings that are God incarnate that are on this planet.
Okay, that's it. That's very interesting. Okay, let's talk about, the Charlie Candace thing from 2017, 2018, when really they launched Turning Point USA together. I will tell you, I've seen some interesting pictures of the two of them where, their hands are
Yeah, the famous one.
the famous hands in the triangle thing, which
Yeah.
I think is kind of, a symbol for the Illuminati or maybe Freemasons or things like
Right.
that. There's another interview of Charlie Kirk where somebody asks him, and maybe I'll plug it into this podcast.
What do you think about the Freemasons? I've seen a lot of conspiracies and a lot of good
strong
stuff.
opinions about it, honestly. It could be right. I've known some people that have been Masons that have just been like regular everyday people. But I'm open.
Where they ask him about Freemasons, and man, his voice goes like 6 octaves higher. And so you can tell he was kind of nervous about that question. Do you know
Interesting.
anything about that stuff?
So I haven't seen that video that you're talking about, but if you look at the connection surrounding Charlie Kirk, if you look at all the people he was tied in with, for example, when Turning Point UK launched, it was held at a place owned by a known Freemason. And it's automatically a connection right there. George Farmer comes from nobility, not royalty, nobility.
That's Candace Owens' husband, George Farmer.
Candace
Okay.
Owens'
Yeah,
husband, and he
who
was the
is
one who
that
helped
guy?
launch
Who is,
TPUK. So
oh, he did. He did.
he
Okay.
helped. Yeah, he was. I think he was like the chairman or something at the launch of TPUK. And again, it was hosted at this lodge that was widely owned by a Freemason.
A
So,
Freemason. Okay,
and we have
interesting.
Trump going on air calling Charlie Kirk a master builder, which is directly related to a
Yeah.
Freemason terminology. We have all
Yes.
the hand signs, which I don't think the hand signs are inherently evil. They're powerful tools that these people use that go back way into ancient history, and they've just
Yeah.
hijacked them for themselves. But yeah, there's
I
so many
think the
connections.
hand signs, yeah, I don't, whether they're evil or not, but I think they're exactly that. They're signs that they put out into the marketplace, basically, to let maybe a certain people know that, hey, everything is moving according to plans. Heck, Eric Trump at Trump's inauguration, he flashed it.
Yeah.
And then at Charlie's WWF SummerSlam memorial event, when Trump and Elon were sitting together. I don't know if you saw that. They both flashed it. And like when they were sitting having their conversation, the media, the image most mainstream media ran was the 4 seconds of them having their hands in an upside down triangle. So again, to me, I'm like, it's almost like I don't want to say they're taunting humanity, but they're being a little obvious about it to see if people pick up on the clues, or maybe they are so powerful, they don't even care if you pick up on their clues. They're kind of rubbing your face in it.
It's an energy grab. These are called
Hmm.
mudras. Whenever
What
you
is it
do
called?
stuff like this, they're called
Yeah.
mudras. And there's
Mudras.
it
Okay.
yeah, it goes way back into ancient India and ancient texts, but they're energy grabs. So when they do that in front of a mass audience, it's to grab energy. They know what they're
Really?
doing. These
Okay.
people know the occult through and through. They
Yeah.
know it through and through. They study the Kabbalah, they study all of these things, and they know how to suck energy. That's what makes them
Interesting.
masters. They're masters. The people at the top, the demons I talk about, they're masters of sucking energy. So
Got it.
that's why they do these hand signs, and they know how to grab people's attention, let's just say.
I gotcha. Okay, okay, that's interesting. I think you're right. Like even certain terms, like I wish I could run an AI search of all of Trump's speeches prior to maybe the past month. I've never heard the guy use the term master builder. And I
Yeah.
remember when I heard that, I was like, dude, that's a weird description. And then I looked up what master builder is, and you're absolutely right. It is a terminology of that Freemason world. Let me say something interesting about Candace, because, I really have liked Candace. And for people that have listened to this podcast, they know that her and Tucker have kind of been my number one resources for things. But then two weird things. You touched on the one. So this guy she's married to, George Farmer, supposedly, and I'm pretty sure this is true, they met on a Zoom call and then they got married less than maybe 2 weeks or less than a month later.
So I'll give you a little more
Yeah.
details to that. So they met at I think it was a TPUSA event or a
Okay.
TPUK event, right? And it was at some event they met. And then I think they spent the week together. And then over the course of 18 days, I believe, through Zoom calls, they got engaged. He proposed to her over a Zoom meeting. It was 18 days, within 18 days.
Okay, so it was 18 days. Okay.
18 days, yes.
If it was 33 days, then I know it would be.
I'm sure you could math it out somehow,
Yeah.
people with their numbers. So.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, that's weird. That's just weird.
Yeah,
That's just
100%.
weird.
I had so many people coming after me in my DMs about that, like pointing the fact out, because I had a YouTube video that got like, I don't know, 30 something thousand views. And I called out Candace for that fact. And I had DMs coming in from the Candace cult, which nobody should be above, investigation. I agree with her
Absolutely.
on so many things, but that doesn't mean I'm going to turn a blind eye to everything. And that
Yeah.
information to me is essential to know. because her husband's
Absolutely.
nobility. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, that family. They have direct ties to the royalty in the UK. So it's like, you can't overlook the fact that these are not normal human beings we're dealing with. She didn't just come to influence out of the blue. These people are raised into these positions and they're trained on how to be in these positions. With that being said, I think they're starting to tell the truth again, because I feel like they know internally within their secret societies that it's evil, and
Yeah.
evil's not going to win this war. Good's going
Yeah.
to win this war. It's not going to
Yeah.
work out. So they're coming out and they're telling the truth, which I appreciate. I think that's good.
No, I totally do too. The other thing about Candace that again, it just caused me to like be like, okay, wait a minute. I need to be aware of everybody was, maybe 45 days ago or 2 months ago when all of the sudden out of the blue, her and Tucker Carlson attacked Nick Fuentes. And I found that weird. I was like, first of all, I watched the interview of Candace and Nick, which I was incredibly excited for. I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be a really nuanced discussion that I feel like everyone's going to get a lot out of. And it was awful. It was her attacking him and quite frankly him really putting her in her place. She came off incredibly basic in that interview. And then she went on Tucker and the two of them came off basic. So I remember coming out of that being like, oh my God, the two people that I thought could kind of do no wrong. Wow, this was terrible. So let's talk about Nick. What are your thoughts on this kid?
I mean, Nick has been around for a long time. Let's
Yeah.
just say this. But his rise to popularity came from his coverage of the Israel-Palestine conflict and his take on it. He was giving, or he is probably still giving, I stopped listening, but he was giving some of the best insights into what was actually happening with the most realistic reasoning behind why it was probably happening. And
Yeah.
such a well-studied, well-spoken individual. This kid has done his research, right?
He totally has. He
So
totally
deep, so well-spoken. He can speak for 3 hours straight. It seems like he never takes a breath, and he knows exactly what he's talking about all 3 hours.
Yeah.
So extremely well-researched kid, which is why a lot of people turned to his podcast because of his take on what was happening with Iran. Why is the U.S. getting involved with Iran? Why are we bombing Iran? We just got out of this whole conflict with the Iraq and Afghanistan, and now we're going for Iran. It's the same thing that's happening over and over again. And he's pointing out exactly what's happening. Now, I
Yeah.
did start to feel when I was listening to him that over this period of time before the whole Candace Owens thing, because this happened really quick. I think it was from March to July that this all went down, or maybe even May. I don't know. And so he gets really into the politics of things. And I'm surprised that for such an intelligent kid, he'll be like, oh, well, the left, the right type of thing.
Yeah.
He kind of plays into that a little bit. And he gets a little bit too detailed sometimes, where it's like, okay, you do understand that there's one entity ruling the world right now in the shadows. And we all
Yeah.
know this. Anybody that
Yeah.
knows anything knows this, but he'll play up both sides. He'll play up the left and the right. And I'm like, this rhetoric kind of doesn't make sense for a kid that is so well researched,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so
Okay.
intelligent, that is so cerebral. He uses his brain like he's an AI bot sometimes. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you should be able to draw the same conclusions that me, a normal human being who's not
Yeah.
mega intelligent like you, can draw the conclusion. Okay. It's not a secret anymore. We know this. And so for
Well,
him
that
to
makes
say,
you question him a little too,
so
the
that
way
made me
I
question him.
questioned Candace because of attacking him for 18 days of Zoom calls, getting
Right.
married to that
So
dude, right?
then we get to July, and I'm following I think everybody at this point that's really into the space that we're in is following Nick, Candace, and Tucker.
Right.
And then
Right.
the podcast with Nick, between Candace and Nick, you hit the nail on the head. Everybody really felt that way. Like, are you kidding me? We have this whole Iran conflict going on right now.
Yeah.
We are coming to you to get your take on this. We want you guys to expose Israel.
Yeah.
And here you guys are having this little bickering match.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
kidding me. This is a
Yeah.
joke. And so completely disappointed. I remember listening to it with my girlfriend, and she loved it because It's drama. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with anything good. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so it was just a
ridiculous.
bickering match. And I
Okay.
agree with your take on it. Candace Owens, blah, blah, blah. She talked his ear off. He put her in her place. And then the whole Tucker Carlson Candace situation. Then I'm questioning. I'm like, all right, Tucker's definitely CIA because Nick comes out with this amazing piece, right?
Yeah,
He does
killed
this
him.
deep dive into the
Yeah.
funding behind Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
He has all this information. And all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, Candace and Tucker are CIA, but I still don't trust Nick. I still don't trust him at the end of this because I'm like, there's too much for him to not cover. Like, he won't go anywhere near the religious stuff. He's a devout Catholic. Right? The same way Candace Owens is a devout Catholic. Anybody that's done any research into the Catholic Church should know that it's run by the same people that run everything else. Everybody should know that.
That is super interesting. And you are absolutely right. So it would be different if they were Christian. If they said, hey, I'm a Christian, then I think it makes a lot more sense.
No, they're
When you
Roman
say,
Catholic.
okay, so
Roman Catholic.
that doesn't make sense. I'm not a religious person, but man, I've learned so much about all of this. And what I know for a fact is the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the Pope, all that stuff. There's a million holes you can poke in all of that. You know, how can you not come down on Roman Catholic priests who molest young boys? Like, how is that even in the realm of being okay? So, you know, that's a good point on Nick. I had another buddy. He's pretty well connected. He hit me with something last week and he said, hey, I think Nick, Candace, and Tucker might be in on all this together. And they might have staged that little argument between, you know, two of them on this side, one on the other. I've been trying to figure out what the benefit of that would be, but you know, that's another thing. It's plausible, man. Anything is plausible.
You have to that's the thing. We're in such a time where we have to explore all sides because we've been lied to so much, you know?
Yes.
So to me, I realized I'm like, okay, Tucker's probably CIA, Candace probably CIA, Nick seemingly more and more FBI informant. I mean, the evidence is there.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to listen to what they have to say and take the truth out because we've been extracting truth for so long now. That's what we're trained to do is extract the truth and cut the fluff. And you know what?
Yeah.
These people, we're getting to a point where they're going to start to have to openly tell everything. Everything's going to come out. The Epstein files will have to come out. Everything. Full disclosure is coming, whether they like it or not. Again, there's higher powers at play in this.
Yeah.
So maybe they're throwing in more truths than they usually do, but that doesn't mean they're not doing their own, you know, drama behind the scenes. So maybe they did set that up. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Let me ask you this on the Charlie Kirk thing. Man, the discussions about this are so all over the place online. You know, there are some people that think he didn't even get really shot. There's like a whole group that thinks it was a very expensive hologram and he's not really dead and all that. I guess, I mean, I can give you my thoughts on that, or why don't you give me your thoughts first?
You know, I personally, I think he was killed. I personally believe it just because of the video I saw. And I don't know if you remember the day of. Either way, they were able to evoke an emotion out of me and out of a lot of Americans that was tragic. I will say I did not expect myself. I've seen some heinous stuff on the internet. I've researched heinous stuff, but that hit me differently that day. And I felt shock throughout my whole body just watching that. So for that reason, I think it was real. I think it happened.
Yeah.
But either way, the awakening that's happened as a result of it is more important than the event itself. Maybe it was faked. He could still be alive in, you know, the conspiracy theory is Valhalla, that island, right? So, you know, I personally don't know the answer to that, but all I care about is the awakening that's happening as a result. I love people questioning the government. I love people questioning the narrative, and I think we need to think critically more, and that's happened as a result.
I don't even really know the Valhalla thing. The only thing I knew that is that's what Kash Patel said to Charlie. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, I'll see you in Valhalla. And
yeah,
so somebody did some research, found some island somewhere that's connected to the US government somehow, and but near this island there's a place called Valhalla. So it's
wow,
almost like a probably like a witness protection program type of island or whatever. So he's
got it,
saying that
got it.
they're saying that he's still alive there. And you know what? We really don't know 100,000%. We don't.
Sure, sure,
So
sure.
I'm open to all theories. My cousin, she's been sending me a bunch of videos on this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? It could be true. You know?
I have one very close friend, and he just swears by the fact that Charlie's alive still. I don't think he is at all. I think they absolutely took him out, similar to you. And what I tell him is, I say, listen, love Charlie Kirk or hated Charlie Kirk. He also was a generational talent when it came to having these debates, having these discussions. Honestly, he really was. The guy was excellent. I mean, besides Nick Fuentes, I think Charlie's the second most talented kind of youth debater. Ben Shapiro's pretty good as well. There's a couple other, but Charlie was excellent. He was very talented. And so I don't think they would have taken him out because they lost a real leader. He was a real leader of that Generation Z conservative Christian movement. And that's what Turning Point USA was. Turning Point USA is by far the number one Christian conservative youth Gen Z movement that basically is creating, the next generation of Christian Republicans, evangelical Christian Republicans. So
Yeah.
I don't think they would take him off the chessboard because he was too good, unless he was shifting his allegiance and shifting his alliances. And, I think that is, if you really piece together from the Patrick Bet David interview, which was October 12th, 2023, a week after October 7th, to the text messages that Candace released, a few last week, it's pretty clear he had shifted his alliances. He even said, I think in that text message, he's like, I can't be part of the pro-Israel movement
Israel
anymore.
movement. Yeah. No, he had completely he had
Yeah.
it's so funny because Nick was such a denier of that too. Again, red
Yes.
flag. He
Yeah,
denied
red
the whole
flag.
thing. He said, "Oh, we can't just." This is the guy that's famous for saying it's the Jewish people.
Yes,
It's the
yes,
Jewish
yes.
people. It's
Yeah,
the Jewish people. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden, somebody who's changing their tune, which he claims he was never changing his tune. Thank God the text came out to prove it, right?
yeah,
Because we all
yeah.
knew it. We had plenty of video evidence to see it, but even more so, the texts were great. And he still doubles down on his stance. Did you see some of the reply tweets to Candace?
Yes, I did. I
Yeah,
did.
it's like, come on,
He
dude,
was
wake up.
so
We know
off
what's
in
going
that.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, he was so off in that. But I will say what I love about the internet is the internet gives zero fucks.
yep,
Like they called him out. Like
yep.
even people that were his super fans are like, what's going on with you? Has your account been hacked? Like, what
Oh
is
my
this? This
gosh,
is
did you
crazy.
see his insults towards his own following? He's just like, you low IQ
I didn't
idiots.
see
I
that.
red pilled you. I red pilled you. It's like, dude, get out of here. You're not the only
That's
person telling
funny.
the truth on the internet. Let's be real. Like,
You want to know something crazy? He took a page out of Guess Who's playbook on that. Let's see. I think you can guess.
Trump?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was, and by the way, this is hilarious. It was Nick a month ago who said the same thing about Trump. He's like, now Trump is telling us to, like, we're idiots if we believe the Democratic hoax of the
Yep.
Epstein files. That's
Did
funny,
did you
man.
see do you know the details behind how Candace Owens accused him of being an FBI informant, what happened, the whole
No.
Jan 6 situation? So he essentially told people he did a breakdown on his Rumble about where he was stationed, why he did a whole breakdown about why he wasn't an FBI informant.
Yeah.
And in one of his videos, he explained how he received an anonymous donation through his crypto wallet or something. And it was some guy I think it was a French guy, like who was terminally ill and wanted to give away some money to some right-wing conservative, talking heads, if you will,
Really?
right?
Yeah.
And this is all around the time Jan 6 happened, or right before Jan 6, I think. And then we have old ladies getting arrested for being near the Capitol. Meanwhile, Nick is on video saying storm the Capitol, and he's not arrested for that. He doesn't have any court dates or anything like that, but the FBI wants to talk to him, right?
That's
And then the
interesting.
FBI wants to talk to him, and they ask him about the money that came through his account. And they did a whole investigation onto how the money got into there. And I think 6 months later, his name was cleared. So an anonymous donation comes in from a terminally ill person that we can't confirm it with.
Yeah.
And it's to the tune of $250,000+
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
months later, he's already had all these meetings with the FBI. It's so suspicious. I mean, that's
is
how it would
definitely
happen.
suspicious.
If you were going to
Yeah.
pay someone off, you're going to come up with a great story as to how that money got to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the money trail goes dead, quite
Yeah.
literally. It goes
Exactly.
dead. So it's like,
Exactly.
this is just too much.
No,
There's so much.
that is too much. On the Charlie Kirk thing, just to kind of bring that to a close, and I'm going to let you talk about anything else you want to talk about. The things that just don't make sense to me are, why did the university repave that section where he was shot the next day? It was either the next day or 2 days later or 3 days later. All of a sudden, they're completely repaving all that. Then I've put out a couple videos where there are clearly 4K SLR incredible cameras pointed right at Charlie. Where's that footage? Where's the footage? That would clearly show exactly what hit him. You could probably see the follicles of hair on his neck. Those cameras looked, so high definition. Then there's the stuff with that lavalier mic he was wearing. He had that
Yep.
lavalier mic on his right, his right shoulder. And then if you remember back in November of last year in Lebanon,
Floating pagers.
3,000 pagers exploded in people's hands. So the technology's there. The
It is.
ability is there. The
And if you look
intent
at the
is there.
slow-mo video, there's a cloud of smoke
Yeah,
forming
yeah,
around that lavalier mic. And I think that's the most likely, I
culprit.
think that's the most, I think so.
I do too.
100%.
I do too.
Just
I do
from
too.
what we have, the information we've had and all the handoff stuff and the timing with the security guard,
Yeah.
pulling his sleeve and the countdown and everything. It just seems like that is the most likely outcome. If more evidence comes to light that we don't have access to, I'd gladly reconsider my position, but we're having to piece this together ourselves. This is not an FBI coming out and telling us what's happening. It's the common man doing all the research. And I love it.
It really
I
is.
actually love
It really, Yeah, it really is the common man doing all the research. But here's the funny part that I think when I think about that, I'm like, okay, if the real FBI and whoever else can't solve this, how on earth are we ever going to defend ourselves against China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea if the four of them decide to partner up one day and attack the United States?
You can't point out that hypocrisy, though.
I know.
You point that out, because that just puts everything into perspective, and then all of a sudden it makes you realize none of it's real. So
Exactly. You were saying earlier, and it's funny. I had a discussion with a friend of mine the other day. Like she keeps on talking about the left. And I told her, I'm going to mention her name because I don't think she's listening. I said, Carla, the fact that you keep focusing on the left shows me how clueless you are. Like we're way beyond that. Left versus right, that's like circa 2020. That's 2020 politics. We have now progressed much further than that. And any of these conservative or even liberal talking heads that are focusing on the left versus the right, I'm like, you guys are so clueless. You're missing the game. You're missing the game.
narrative they tried to spin post Charlie Kirk, it was the crazy left. That's
Yeah,
what they said.
yeah, the
Trump
crazy
said
left.
it.
Yeah,
The Nick Fuentes came out and said it. It's like, okay, come on now. Like this is how we know you guys are all bought and paid for. This is the same narrative Netanyahu had. It's the same talking points.
Yes.
It's like,
That's right.
okay, when Nick and Netanyahu's talking points are the same, because that's how you know they're all together on this. That's how you know.
Pretty wild.
When I heard it, because Nick on his podcast, he's like, all of these Republicans, they get this sheet They're paid to make these posts, and they had the same talking points. And it's like, oh, wow, looks like you got your sheet, Nick, because
Yeah.
you have the same talking point as Trump and Netanyahu, two people you supposedly speak out against and oppose. Well, I think we know where you lie now. So
All right, that is interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, I mean, Gaza and all that. Like, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, I personally do not think this ceasefire is anything. I think it's a temporary distraction toward getting ready for whatever next phase they want to do. But what are your
So
thoughts?
I did a deep dive into the history of Palestine and Israel and the
Wow.
funding of it all. And I'm making a YouTube video on it right now, and it's been a couple weeks of research, and
Wow.
I'm blown away by how much we have not been taught in school. And this all starts back, can you guess the century this starts in? 1700s. This starts.
Wow. Okay. I was
Okay.
going to guess maybe, I always take it back to the Balfour Declaration in 1917, but I'm sure it started even way before that.
Well, and you know what? 1700 is just where I'm tracing it back to. It obviously goes back 3,000 years to the biblical prophecy, you
Yeah.
know? So what I'm saying is it starts with a certain banking family. I don't know if we're allowed to say their names, but
Yeah. It's not Destiny's Child, and it's not an IRA Roth, a Roth IRA. So
yeah.
take a Roth IRA and combine it with Destiny's Child. There you
Yeah.
go.
So essentially in the 1700s, one of these, people is born. They set up the banking in Europe. They set up, them and their kids set it all up, the banking in Europe. They take control of Britain. They take control of Britain by loaning money to Britain. Britain then gets control of Palestine as a British mandatory option. Meanwhile, these bankers are buying up land in Palestine. The Ottoman Empire's in crumbles, essentially. And these bankers are buying land there. They're setting up their own settlements. They're creating infrastructure, essentially. And meanwhile, there's Palestinians, Arabs living there, and they're kicking them out of their lands because at the time, the Ottoman Empire is kind of in crumbles. People are selling their land, and the tenant farmers there are Arabs, and they're getting kicked off, and they're getting pushed out. And so then you get the Balfour Declaration, comes from a Brit, right? He's a Brit, Secretary of, what is he? Secretary of State, something like that.
Yeah.
Writes the letter directly to the Rothschild family. I will say it now because guess what? That's historical evidence right there.
Yeah.
He writes it to them saying, listen, we want to offer you this land. Why would you offer them that land? Well, that's right. You're in extreme amounts of debt to this family. You owe them tons of money. And guess how you're going to repay them? With land. Land that's not even really yours, right?
Right, exactly.
And
that's a key
guess
point.
what?
That's land that's not even
The
theirs.
Arabs, the Palestinians at the time, 93% of the population in that area never consulted once. They weren't asked, is this what we're going to do? Is this okay? No.
Yeah.
The British government feels the need to give them the land. They get the land. And obviously it wasn't the British government's idea. It was a certain family's idea. It was a Zionist family's idea.
Yeah.
It was a plan for Greater Israel. And we all know what Greater Israel's here for. And if we don't know, they want to bring about World War III. That has been their plan all along. They want turmoil. They want chaos. They want fighting. They want nuclear war. That's what they want.
Why do you think they want that? Why do you think they want that?
They want that for control. Anytime you see anything tragic happen in humanity, like on a scale, on a massive scale, freedoms are lost as a result. Because in the name of safety, right, your freedoms are lost.
Yeah.
So if you go back and you research anybody like Bill Cooper or maybe even Jordan Maxwell talked on this, but they'll explain to you that Greater Israel is their plan for bringing about World War III, a massive global war that ends in nuclear war. And then as a result, it's going to be their image is that everything's going to be so chaotic, so devastating that people will be like, please, no more. And then they're going to form their one world government. They're going to form their one world, whatever. I don't want to say the the full term there because maybe YouTube will ban it, but they're going to form their version of a one world government. And then everybody's going to be like, yes, you know, for the name
Yeah.
of safety,
In
we've
the name
lost
of
so much.
safety,
There's
in the
been
name
so
of
much
fear.
devastation. Please, like, let's all come together. And then guess what? That's when Palantir goes into hyperdrive. You have a digital ID, your car's electric, your finances are electric, everything is on the grid, right? And you are essentially a bot.
You're
You
a bot.
become a
Yeah.
bot at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
You speed over the limit, your car alerts, your bank account automatically deducted from the, you know, you get a ticket and it comes out of your bank account immediately, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you're not allowed to drive, or let's say you haven't paid your taxes. They're like, oh, well, we're evicting you, or you're not allowed this. And they want us all eating bugs.
Yeah.
But that's a grim picture, right? That's
Yeah.
super
Yeah. That
grim.
is a
That's
grim
really
picture.
dark. A lot of people get sad over stuff like this. You have to realize that's never going to happen. And the reason why is because the conversations you and I are having right now, Ray,
Yeah.
the conversations that you and I are having, so many people are having now. They're
Yeah.
aware, they're awake. The Great Awakening is so much bigger than the Great Reset they have planned.
Yeah.
It's not going to
That's
work.
yeah.
They've played their hand, overplayed their hand to the point where humanity woke up.
I think they did overplay their hand because it's so funny. Like, I've been posting regularly, and I wouldn't say I'm in the hardcore side of the posting. I'm more in the common sense side of posting. But, you know, it's like every single night or day that I post, a different random friend that I probably haven't heard from in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. I didn't even know they look at my stuff. I'm not kidding. Every single day, I'll get a new person be like, dude, I totally get this. I love watching your posts, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know we were friends on Facebook or Instagram. This is hilarious that after 4 years of me posting, you finally decided what I posted last night gave you the courage to send me a reply. And it really goes back to CV19. I mean, it goes back to COVID. You know, that was my, I guess, my awakening, but it was when I really started paying attention and I started looking at things kind of through a different lens. What about you? Like, when did you start to really just ask questions?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I asked questions from a young age. My dad used to explain to me financial systems, but when I really started to wake up was probably like 2018-ish when I
Wow.
started realizing the food, how they were poisoning the food. I was reading books, researching food, and I'm like, wow, they're poisoning our food. And I'm like, why would they want to poison our food? Why would they want to make us sick? And then I started researching the pharma industry, and I started researching, you know, vaccines and all this stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. I remember I was in my early 20s. I was pretty young at the time. And I remember sitting down at the dinner table with my family and like cry pleading to them to like wake up and realize they're poisoning us. Like they're trying to kill us. Like, and you know, at the time my emotions were way above my reason because I was the only one talking about it. I had no one
Yeah.
to express this to for them to be like, no, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Like, I thought it was the end. I'm like, this is crazy. They're poisoning our food. They're poisoning our water. And then they're giving us medications and they're profiting off of it. And I was at a loss. And then I become super spiritual, start doing meditations. I end up in India, and there I find my guru. And when I say guru, he is like the person that red pilled me the hardest.
Really?
And that is when I learned all about how they form these wars, who's really in charge, the power structures.
Was it an Indian guy?
Yeah, Indian guy. This was in
Interesting.
2019. I went to India,
Yeah.
right before COVID.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't worry, the world's about to wake up. And then 2 or 3 months later, after he's red pilling me every single day, he is
Yeah.
telling me something new. And my complete paradigm of the world is shifting day by day. And
Wow.
it's almost like cognitive overload. I feel comatose certain days because of how much I'm learning and how evil these people really are. And I think 2020 people learned a lot about the dark, dark stuff that happens.
Yeah,
And
I
he
think so
showed me
too.
some of that, and all you feel is anger. You just feel pure rage towards these leaders, which is
Yeah.
why I call them demons,
Yeah.
you know? So this happens in 2019, and then I see what happens during 2020 COVID. They're saying, oh, you're going to die if you don't get the jab and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in India, one of the most densely populated countries in the entire world. I stayed there throughout COVID. I didn't care. I didn't care at
Wow.
all. Yeah, I went to Mumbai during this period, and if you think you've seen a lot of people in a small place, you have to go to India. And then if you think you've seen a lot of people in a small place, you have to go to Mumbai. Okay?
Wow.
You have never seen so many people in
So
such a small
what
area.
was Mumbai like during COVID? Was everyone masked up? Were they freaking
So
out like
yeah, so I
America?
got immediately we're in a bus into Mumbai, and this wasn't. I don't know if this was probably during the peak. We're in a bus going into Mumbai, and I think the police pull the bus over because I'm leaning against the window, like it's like a sleeper bus almost. I'm leaning against the window, no mask on. The police pull this bus over, and they start pointing at me through the window. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I'm in a foreign country. I can't speak the language. I don't know. They come onto the bus. They start yelling at me like, your mask, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, whoops. So immediately I had to pay some fine. Thank God I was with my Indian friends. Otherwise, I would have had no idea what they were
Yeah.
talking about, really. So yeah, it was strict. I mean, they had a lot of strict. I mean, I also lived in a village in India during a portion of it, and nobody cared. Absolutely
Yeah.
nobody had a TV, or most people didn't have TVs. So they went about their day-to-day life farming like they normally would. It didn't make a difference. I didn't see anyone dying in the village. The only person that died in the village was someone who got the thing. So
Really? That's
the
so
only person that
interesting.
I heard about in the village. That's the only person. So
Wow. So
yep.
you were in a village in India during COVID. What were you doing? Like, were you like
Studying.
training to be a guru or something? What were you doing?
Studying the world, so my guru actually had a media station. I was doing news over there. Like, I was covering things, and
Wow.
I was just learning. I've always been super curious as a person. So I wanted to know what was happening in the world, what actually was happening in the world, not what they tell us on the media, not what we're programmed to believe. I always knew there was something bigger.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I learned there's a lot more to our history, not just in the United States, not just in the terms of current events. This goes back so long before what anyone will let you, or what they'll ever admit in current terms. They won't tell you how far back this goes. There's a huge history to this planet that has been kept secret, but it's all going to come out. It's all coming
Wow.
out.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Do you still keep in contact with this guru? Like, is he still
Absolutely.
okay?
100%. Yeah,
How
100%.
old is this? How old is this guy?
He's in his 30s. He's in his
Wow.
30s.
He's
Yeah.
only in his 30s.
Oh yeah, no, super impressive individual. Very, very, very impressive. His knowledge goes so deep, which is why I stayed for the 2 years. I'm like, I stayed there for 2 years.
You stayed there 2
It was a
years.
2-week planned trip. I was looking for software developers for our social app that we were trying to build at the time.
Okay.
And then I was so impressed by what he had to say, and I was just so drawn to him. I'm like, yep, 2 years it is,
That
because
is
COVID
interesting.
happened. What was I going to do in the United States?
Yeah.
Sit in my
Yeah.
home and be depressed?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. That's what I did.
yeah.
Okay, speaking of software apps, let's talk about TikTok. And I know that's something I think you've posted on that, like, with what's going on now, Larry Ellison is part of the acquisition team. I mean, I already feel like that algorithm is changing and it's starting to filter away content that they don't want people to see because, quite frankly, especially when it comes to Gaza and really many other topics, I mean, that is where Pandora's box has been opened. I mean, TikTok is insane at the amount of knowledge you can get on there. In addition to like some people think it's just all the stupid dances and like the dumb, funny stuff. It does have a lot of that. And a lot of it is actually hilarious. But like, there also is, I mean, when I go to research something and if I need like, oh, I need that clip of Charlie Kirk saying this on Patrick Bet David, used to go to YouTube to find it. Now I go directly to TikTok. 9 times out of 10, there's 50 versions of it. And then in one of those versions, I can press a button and I can download that file to my phone, and then I upload it and use it in my podcast. It's incredible, but I think it's going to change. I think
It
it's going
already
to change.
has.
Yeah.
So I actually never had access to it because I was in India during when it launched, and it got immediately banned for security reasons, conflict between India and China. So I couldn't even use it in India. When I came to the US, I hadn't been using it, so it didn't really matter. But I heard it was like the place you go to get red pilled. I had a lot of people reaching out to me saying how they learned about, the dark stuff that happens with these leaders and what they do
Yeah.
in the shadows through TikTok. I'm like, wow, that's really great. And so I had always had in my mind, I always knew that no matter what platform it is, it's going to be controlled by somebody. And so comes to light that once Larry Ellison and Oracle take charge, the algorithm shifts. And I got banned on TikTok probably 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago now. And that's the only reason I started uploading to Instagram was because my TikTok got banned. I was so casual. I'd pick up my phone, give my take on something. It was great. Fantastic. It get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. I
Really?
grew, yeah. Oh, 100. So the week I got banned was my most viewed week. I got millions of views that week. And it was around Charlie Kirk. It was around all of that stuff that was happening. And so I
Wow.
got banned. I got 5,000 followers and banned. Then I was banned.
Like banned as in they deleted it? You got permanently deleted?
So they gave me a few warnings on a few posts, and I thought I was good. I'm like, all right, fine. Just don't violate it again. And I had an upload. Nothing that I uploaded towards the end was getting nothing that I uploaded the day before I was banned got flagged. There was no new flags. I knew
Yeah.
what was happening. There was no new flags, but I knew that the algorithm was about to shift because they announced how the power structures were gonna change, and I'm like, it's over for me. I don't
Yeah.
stand a chance on this platform given what I speak about, and I speak out not against Jewish people. I speak out against Israel, and not even just Israel. I speak out against the people controlling Israel and
Yeah.
how they're
Yeah.
using Israel to do their evil stuff. I have no problem with Israelis that don't support genocide. I have no problem with them. I have no problem
Right.
with Jewish people. You know what?
Right.
I have
Right.
no problem with anyone really, as long as they can understand that genocide is not okay and that you're not trying to control the way I live,
Right. Right.
So
Right.
all
Right.
of that I have no problem with, but algorithm shifts, I get banned, I create a new account, and then 2 days later, I've uploaded again and maybe uploaded 2 videos to this new account, no flags, permabanned again, just logged
Wow.
out. Yeah. So I had no chance. I stood no chance. So I started uploading to Instagram, I think a month ago.
Got
And
it.
I got, I don't know what, we're at like 15K now versus TikTok throttled everything I was doing towards
So
the
you
end.
had hundreds of thousands of people on TikTok then, huh?
No, just thousands
that?
of views. No,
Oh,
not
okay. Got it.
followers. I had
Okay.
this was the first year I started uploading to social media
Oh, okay.
about this
Okay.
stuff.
Oh,
I
wow. Okay.
I was very quiet about all of this, just studying, learning.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And
Got it. Got it.
so it was that week where I was getting millions of views where my TikTok really started to blow off that it got banned. So
Okay.
that was the
Got it.
power
Got it.
shift. And guess what? Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, the biggest contributor, the biggest ever known contributor
Yeah.
to the IDF, individual
Right.
contributor
Right.
to the IDF, 16 million to the
Yeah.
IDF, and obviously a lot more privately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So he takes
TikTok
over.
is cooked. TikTok is
Over.
cooked.
It's
It's
over. I made a
it's
video
absolutely
saying,
cooked.
goodbye, guys. This is it for me.
Yeah.
Probably like
Yeah.
5 or 6 videos before I was banned. It got a couple 100,000 views and then banned. And I had
Yeah.
people saving my videos for me, sending it to me because they were all getting taken down in real time. It was like
That's funny.
my comment sections were like, oh, dude, you're going to get banned. This is going to get banned. And like it's getting hundreds of
Yeah.
tens of thousands of views per hour and then banned.
Wow. That's
It was all
crazy.
over Charlie Kirk, by the way. That was the number
Interesting.
one
Yeah,
thing that did it
I
for
will
me.
say I have tried to upload a few different things related to Charlie as well over the past couple weeks, and they immediately get community flagged, and
Yep.
then I dispute it, and
Yep.
then I lose the dispute. I actually
Yep.
have a I've had on my account, which is not that big at all, but it says account ban potential or something.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to log in one day and for it to be
Yeah.
gone, because that's probably
I
going
didn't
to
even
happen.
I didn't feel any heartbreak. All I knew is I'm doing my job. I'm
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
telling the right narrative, and for them to ban me means I'm doing the
yeah.
right thing.
That's a little bit of a badge of honor. Who else do you listen to, or whose information do you take in? Who do you like these days? How do you kind of get your perspectives or information to then form your own take?
It's funny because I want to ask you that question before, and I want to see if we
Okay.
align before
Okay.
I give it away. So
Okay.
I'd like to
Okay.
know where you go.
I'll give you mine. I'll give you mine. I will say, prior to the Candace Tucker versus Nick battle, I definitely would get a lot of perspective from Candace, a lot of perspective from Tucker, and then a lot of perspective from Nick, those three. But then I also really like Professor Jeffrey Sachs. I like Professor John Mearsheimer. I listen to those guys to get really a different, kind of like an older person perspective, and quite frankly a academic perspective. When it comes to the Israel Palestine stuff, gosh, I've probably learned the most from these Israeli scholars like Norman Finkelstein, and then there's a guy, Miko Peled. I've had him on the podcast. I
Norman
learned
Finkelstein, I've heard that name
Yeah,
before.
Norman Finkelstein's incredible. He's Jewish. He's like a Jewish scholar, and he's just absolutely amazing with the way he breaks down the history of Israel.
So he
Who
had a
else?
very viral clip. He had a very viral clip where he was. Do you remember that clip where he's giving a lecture?
Yeah, he's giving a lecture, and a
What a
young girl.
yes,
Yeah,
what a
and he just
wonderful clip.
shut her down. He
That was
absolutely shut her down.
beautiful. And I
Yeah,
think I mean, I don't know anything else about him other than that clip, but that was
yeah,
a wonderful moment
yeah,
for
yeah,
humanity in that
yeah.
situation.
I used to like Patrick Bet David. I used to listen to that podcast, but man, that thing just
Yep.
went south in a hurry
Yeah.
post. Actually, when October 7th happened, for that first couple months, they were doing great content when it came to the situation in Gaza and Palestine and Israel and all that. They really were delivering, I thought, the best content on the internet. And then they just completely went one-sided and went south. I'll tell you who else I like. I like Pierce Morgan. I've listened to a lot of Pierce Morgan stuff. You know, even though I might not agree with everything Pierce Morgan says, I think he provides a platform for both sides of any discussion to be able to articulate their side. And then he does take a side sometimes. And, you know, in the Gaza situation, for the first maybe 18 months, he was completely, well, I'd say 80% pro-Israel, 20% pro-Palestinian people. And now it's probably 95% pro-Palestinian people, 5% pro-Israel. And he's caught a bunch of flack for that, like
How about
all of the
Anna
sudden. Anna
Kasparian?
Kasparian. Yeah, Anna
What a
Kasparian.
great
He's a beast.
her
He's a
having her
beast.
on. That's great.
She's a beast. She's
Yeah.
part of that Young Turks with that
Yep.
guy, Cenk Uygur. I
Yep.
listen to those guys. I take their content in. You know, anybody that is like foot on the gas, super volatile from the beginning to the end, I kind of take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. I like the people that can calmly articulate their point and calmly articulate, their stance on things, back it up with receipts. But yeah, she's a beast. So I get some stuff from them. I'll tell you where I don't get anything from anymore whatsoever is anything Fox, anything News Nation, Newsmax, the New York Post,
What about
all of
Nick?
those.
Do you listen to Nick anymore? Nick
Fuentes?
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 Yeah.
No, I absolutely do.
You
I
do. Okay.
absolutely do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Yeah.
absolutely listen to Nick.
Yeah.
My take on the Nick situation in regards to Charlie Kirk and him not immediately saying, hey, this is so obvious this was Israel because Charlie was about to switch teams and go on Candace. I just think well, one of two things. One is maybe the Trump administration has a backdoor deal with him and they said, hey, you need to pump the brakes on this and we're going to enable you to, who knows, maybe Nick takes over Turning Point USA a year from now. I can tell you Erica Kirk being appointed the CEO of Turning Point USA, that was just ridiculous and weird, and that makes no sense. So with Nick, I do think they came to him and said, hey, we're gonna propel you, but you need to pump the brakes on that. That's one potential. The other potential is, listen, man, the fear of God and the fear of seeing something happen to someone similar to you, I mean, that changes you.
Yeah.
That changes you, that absolutely changes you.
Yep.
And that could be at play, that could be at play. I actually think that kind of is the reason why Trump might be different in many ways. The assassination attempt last July in Butler, PA. I had another guy, I don't know if you follow Jeremy Slade and Jay Slay USA. He's on Instagram. He's pretty good. I'll get you guys connected. You should have a conversation. Anyway, he had an amazing take on my podcast, which hasn't gotten as much notoriety, but he basically thought that that was a warning shot to Trump to fall in line. And I mean, with hindsight, he has fallen in line, like the Trump that is in power now. I mean, half of MAGA is like, this isn't the guy we voted for. Who is this guy? You know what I mean? So, I do think that fear of God changes you. That absolutely changes you. And it's not even so much your personal harm. It's finding your weak spot and putting the fear of God that they'll be affected. So like for Trump, it would be Barron, Ivanka, maybe Melania. I don't even think he cares that much about Don Jr. and Eric, so maybe those guys are disposable. But his grandkids, I know he loves his grandkids. Who knows, man? Who knows? So I think with Nick, that has taken place to an extent to where he's pumped the brakes on the Charlie Kirk thing, because he hasn't pumped the brakes on anything else. He's continuing to go hardcore on the state of Israel and this ceasefire and all that. But the Charlie Kirk thing, it's just weird. It's weird.
When something doesn't feel right, usually something isn't right, which I've learned to trust my gut over the years on these people, because what meets the eye is never what the full story is type of thing. So it's funny because I stopped listening to, just over the last few weeks, I've stopped listening to everybody almost. The only people I really, well, what happens is I'll listen to everyone, get their perspective. And when I say everyone, I mean the top talking heads, like you mentioned, Tucker, Nick, Candace. Nick, I'll never really fully listen to him again. I'll go to his comment section just to see what his followers, just to see how aware his followers are. Yeah. But I won't really listen to him because he already exposed his hand to me.
Interesting.
So
okay, that's fair.
If he's not, I mean, if he has a take that I want to hear, like on a conflict, I'll go to him, definitely. Yeah. But massive turnoff what happened with the whole Charlie Kirk situation. But David Icke, I mean, that dude, top dog. If you ever want the bigger picture of what's going on, you're talking about a guy who was a part of the club. He was in mainstream media, right? And completely flipped his script. And Nick wants to say he red-pilled everybody. No, Nick got a lot of what he got from David Icke. He learned a ton from David Icke. And he even admitted it on a podcast that, you know, he agrees with everything David Icke says aside from the whole reptilian stuff, right?
Yeah, the reptilian. David Icke, is it Ike or Ike? I don't even know how to pronounce
I don't know.
That guy's
I just
name.
say David Icke.
You know what's interesting? He's just not mainstream enough in the United States.
No, he's not.
And I don't know why, because no, I agree with you. I think that guy
I think we do know why.
Yeah. But it seems like people are finding the truth. So I'm surprised more people haven't found him. Even myself, I don't really take in enough of his content. I'm going to start to add that to my
It's
list.
funny because I notice myself, I'm like, all right, I've got the weeds. I want the higher picture. Like you
Yeah.
go into the trenches when you listen to Nick, when you listen to Tucker, when you listen to
Right,
Candace,
right.
but you're like, what is the bigger picture here? And David Icke always has it. And it's really hard to find. I'll search his name on
It is.
YouTube on a certain subject and I can't really find it. So oftentimes I'll just go to my guru. I'll be like, hey, what's the deal with this situation? Right? I've listened to this person, this person, and this person. They're all saying this. This is the general consensus of what's happening in the US. And he always has the perspective that
Is your guru like front and center? Like, does dude have a podcast?
needs to be. They're doing a series on him over there in India right now because he builds temples all over the place. He'll go into
Wow.
any territory in the entire world. He'll build a temple. He'll build a church. He
Yeah.
believes that there should be no division among people. There should be
Interesting.
no division. And I agree with that. I think we look
Yeah.
at the world. That's why whenever people bring up the whole religious side of things, I'm like, do you really think that the people that control the banks, that control the governments, that control the food, that control the healthcare, that control this, they just skipped religion? That
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
plan this out from day one? Like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on. There's so much planning that's gone into all of this.
No,
And they skip
organized
that?
religion. Organized religion is the weapon they're using for everything else. It really is. Man, organized religion is powerful. It really
So
is.
powerful.
As
That
a
that's the
non,
weak point for humans.
it is.
That's
It
their
is.
weak point.
It is. It is. As somebody that is not into any organized religion, it's super easy for me to see the people that, and again, regardless of the religion, if they are so into their team, they cannot think clearly at all. I
Yeah.
mean, they cannot think
Yeah.
clearly at all. What
Yeah.
about Alex Jones? Do you listen to him? Do you like that guy?
He's been controlled off from I don't know about from day one, but he
Well,
had a man named William Cooper on. Goes by Bill Cooper.
yeah,
Bill
that dude
Cooper,
was legit, right?
legit. So he was actually the one who predicted 9/11. He
Okay.
had Bill Cooper, Alex Jones had Bill Cooper on his show, and live listeners listened in. They said it went well, you know? After the show, Alex Jones goes off saying Bill Cooper was a maniac, blah, 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 blah. Started bad talking Bill Cooper. For what reason? We don't know. But usually it's because a higher power calls in and says, you're not allowed to have somebody like this telling the truth on your show. And then Alex Jones is famous for predicting 9/11 after Bill Cooper has already predicted it. And
I didn't
so
know that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
and so, yeah, if you do a little bit deeper dive, I believe Alex Jones's wife is Jewish. So he has 3 Jewish kids by blood. The female is,
Yeah.
the bloodline essentially. They're the
I
ones
did
that
not know
matter.
that
So
either.
yeah. So I mean, it came out that Tucker Carlson said it himself that he has a Jewish wife as well. So a lot of these people,
Really?
he said it himself. Yeah, his wife's Jewish.
I did not know that
Yeah,
either.
and I think
Wow.
Trump just said that his daughter converted. I mean,
Yeah,
shock
literally
there, right?
Trump just said Ivanka converted.
Yeah, yeah. So if you put the pieces together, I mean, Alex Jones is not. He's been on the brink of bankruptcy with
Oh,
InfoWars for how long? My
yeah,
ass, dude. You have an amazing studio. Your guy's telling the
yeah,
truth. He ends up dead somehow. It's like, come on, man.
yeah. A
Let's
lot of
let
people probably don't know one of his main, I think like reporters got killed. That
yeah,
was weird.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he's got some other good guys. Like I don't know if Owen Schroyer is still part of
One of them left.
InfoWars.
Yeah, Owen
I
left, I
think
believe.
Owen
Yeah.
left.
Well,
That
there's
guy's
a
pretty.
famous clip way back when. I forget which reporter it was. Maybe it was the one that unfortunately passed. I don't know. But there's this guy who comes on and he's like, Hollywood is all a bunch of homosexual Jewish people. It's run by homosexual Jewish people. And they were like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
Even InfoWars, you can't say, you can't, there's even things you can't say on
an
InfoWars type
InfoWars.
of
Okay,
thing.
that's interesting.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on this show. You can edit that
No,
out
it's
too,
fine.
but
I don't think I'm on the radar yet for it to be a
okay.
problem. So,
Yeah.
and if it is, I'll just point them to you. I'll be like, I was just asking questions. All right, what else, man? What else? What else? Anything else we should talk about? Or
Man, I mean, it's just exciting times. I was talking with a friend the other day. I'm like, they've come out with no new shows on Netflix, like nothing really entertaining. And he's like, dude, That's because real life right now is the TV show. It is all so
That's
entertaining.
funny.
And I'm
That's
like,
very true.
spot on. You know, you're going to Candace Owens for your entertainment nowadays. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going anywhere else. So I think it's
That
an
is
exciting
very
time.
true. I will say I definitely watch
Yeah.
a lot less Netflix and I watch a lot more Instagram on my phone or whatever on my phone. No, that absolutely is true. All right, listen, man, we could go on for a couple
I know.
more hours. I know pretty easily, but we'll save it. This was super enjoyable. Let's do it again. Let's maybe do it again in the next, I don't know.
There's gonna be so much that happens in the next few
Yeah,
months that there's gonna be plenty to talk about. So I really
yeah.
appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You wanna
Yeah.
plug anything? You wanna tell
So
anyone anywhere?
surveillance state ushering in. Social media is not going to be the same. I have people messaging me about how they're getting banned on Instagram now. Algo
Yeah.
shift happened recently. He shows me a bunch of his videos. I don't know if you know banned video on Instagram. I don't
I
know if
do
you
know
follow.
band video, yeah. I
Yeah.
like those guys.
So they showed me, a bunch of their content's getting blocked. It's like randomly. It just all of
Wow.
them got flagged. And it's an algo shift that's happening on Instagram now too. It's not just TikTok.
TikTok.
So it's
Yeah,
inevitable.
yeah.
I've known for a long time that this was their plan. So we're working on our own social media platform. There's a bare bones version on the marketplace right now in the App Store. It's called Amara Social. So if you want the
Cool.
bare bones version, it's there. It's not amazing yet, but it's our effort to keep the truth
Yeah.
going. We don't
Okay.
want these conversations to end. We want people to be able to share this stuff. We need humanity to wake up now more than ever because we are at a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And so whatever we can do, we're trying to do. And I think social media is one of those things. So
No, it
yeah,
absolutely is. I
that's
mean,
my plug for the day.
okay, all right, that's a good one. I will say as much as there's a lot of manipulation via social media, but it also has been an eye opener and Pandora's box got opened up by the way the modern state of Israel did to Gaza and what they
Yep.
did to the Palestinian people.
Yep.
And that genocide was relayed to people through TikTok. TikTok then allowed it to go to Instagram and to Facebook and all that. And, I don't think they realized that they opened up Pandora's box and they had a good thing going, but they ruined it. And now people will not stop asking questions about everything there, about 9/11, about the JFK assassination, the USS Liberty, talking about, taking it back to the USS Liberty, all that stuff,
I
man.
know. It's like, when did we ever learn about the USS Liberty? We didn't. We
We
didn't learn
never
about
learned
any of
about
this
the
stuff.
USS Liberty.
The
No, we
Havara
never learned
Agreement.
about.
How about
Yeah,
did you see the Hannibal directive
the
that the
Hannibal Directive. Yep, I
I
understand
mean,
that.
come on.
Yeah,
When would we have ever learned about any of this stuff if it weren't for social media? No textbook is going to have stuff like that in it.
totally. There's even
Yeah.
a crazier thing called, I think, the Samson option or the
Yeah.
Samson
Yeah.
Directive that basically, in a nutshell, says if Israel ever gets to the point where their friends turn on them and they really feel like they're backed into a corner that they can't get out of, then they're gonna
Goes nuclear.
go nuclear on everybody, including the
Everybody. Yep.
United States. I
Yep.
mean, there's
But
legitimate.
Israel doesn't have a nuclear program. I don't
Yeah,
understand. It doesn't make any sense, right?
good point, good point, good point.
Yeah.
All right, my man. Listen, hang on the line. All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. By the way, I just wanted to tell people you're one of the few people. I think this is the second time. I literally did not prepare much of anything for this. And I think I only sent you maybe a text message that said, hey, let's get into the Charlie Kirk stuff and let's get into anything else, current, because I knew the conversation would just flow and it definitely did that. So anyway, man, listen, I really appreciate it. Hang on the line. All right, everybody, call a spade a spade. Call your parents. We'll check out Brandon's new social media app. Heck, a year
Amara
from now,
Social. Amara
Mara
Social,
Social.
by
How do you
the way.
spell it? Mara?
AMA.
Amara. Amara Social. Okay, who knows? A year from now, we might all be on that interacting. Knock on wood. Hope for it. All right, buddy. Stay on the line. All right, everybody. Call your parents. Call a spade a spade. We'll talk to you soon.
This episode was brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zip more, smoke less. Totally satisfying, discreet, and delicious. Zippix nicotine-infused toothpicks are available in 6 great flavors, each containing at least 2 milligrams of nicotine to curb those cravings. Zippix is FDA registered and proudly made in the USA. Use discount code DSD for 10% off your order at zippixtoothpicks.com. Zip more, smoke less, save 10%.